What if everything you've been told about death is a lie, a cruel illusion designed to keep you from glimpsing the truth? Because the truth is not just unsettling, it's liberating. Since the dawn of civilization, humans have feared the end. We've built pyramids, temples, and entire religions to prepare for it. We've painted it as judgment, reincarnation, eternal sleep, a lake of fire, or total oblivion. If you really knew what happens after you die, then you would become fearless. This is precisely why this truth has been hidden. Death is not the end. It is not even a transition. It is a return, a decoding of your current reality, a confrontation with what you truly are, to what you always were and ever will be. Ancient mystics, forgotten prophets, and secret orders across millennia have whispered truths of what lies beyond, not in vague promises or symbolic metaphors, but in maps, spiritual blueprints, left scattered across cultures like a sacred jigsaw puzzle. The Tibetan Bardo Thödol, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Hermetic corpus, the Gnostic Gospels, all echo one hidden truth, that the moment of death is a moment of unveiling, a stripping down of everything you thought you were to something much greater. In this video, we will travel beyond the veil and decode what the ancients knew and what modern science is only just beginning to glimpse. We'll uncover why this important knowledge was hidden for so long and what happens when the illusion of death collapses. By the end, you may not fear death anymore, but more importantly, you may understand the true meaning of life itself. Because once you see what lies beyond the body, the vessel, you begin to see the body and this entire reality for what it truly is. A sacred game, a dream you were meant to wake up in. From the earliest whispers of human consciousness, death has haunted the collective psyche like a dark shadow, a doorway into unknown realms. Across cultures and epochs, sacred texts and secret teachings have attempted to illuminate what happens after we breathe our last breath. But these truths have often been hidden beneath layers of symbolism, allegory, and deliberate secrecy. Take ancient Egypt, for example, where death was not an end, but a profound journey through the Duat, the underworld realm of transformation. The Book of the Dead was more than a guide for the deceased. It was a map of initiation, filled with knowledge to navigate trials beyond the veil. Here, the soul was believed to face judgment, not by a distant deity, but by the very truth of its own actions and essence, weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the principle of cosmic balance. This was not punishment, it was recognition of one's alignment with the universal law. Travel further east to the Tibetan plateau, where the Bardo Thödol, known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, offers detailed instructions for navigating the liminal state between death and rebirth. It describes this intermediate realm, the Bardo, as a landscape of illusions shaped by one's own consciousness. Death, in this vision, is a mirror reflecting the true nature of the mind, a final test of awareness before the soul's next cycle. But these teachings are not isolated. Hidden within the cryptic texts of Hermeticism, Gnosticism, and the mystery schools of Greece and Rome, we find echoes of a universal secret. The physical body is merely a shell, a temporary vessel, while the true self exists beyond the visible. The Gnostics called it the pleroma, the fullness of divine light, from which souls descended into the material world, only to forget their origin. Death, then, is the painful unshackling of this amnesia, a return to the source. Why has such profound knowledge been buried or distorted over centuries? Partly because it threatens established power structures and dogmas. To reveal the soul's power over death is to challenge fear-based control and inspire individual awakening. Moreover, the very experience of death is deeply subjective, beyond the reach of dogmatic certainty. What remains is a mosaic of fragmented wisdom, waiting to be pieced together by those who dare to look beyond surface truths. Modern science, with its advances in near-death experiences and quantum physics, is beginning to peer into this ancient mystery, not yet with certainty, but with startling hints that consciousness transcends the brain, that death may be less an ending and more a transformation of energy and awareness. So today, we stand at a crossroads between forgotten esoteric wisdom and emergent scientific insight. Both suggest a radical possibility, that death is not the oblivion we fear, but a hidden gateway, a doorway to realms where our true self awaits to be rediscovered. Imagine for a moment that your body is a ship navigating the stormy seas of existence. The soul, then, is the captain, the unseen force guiding this ship through the fog. Death is not a shipwreck, but the moment when the captain disembarks. This journey beyond physical life is often described as crossing a threshold into a realm of pure consciousness. But what does that mean exactly? And how can we begin to comprehend a reality beyond time, space, and the senses? Ancient wisdom teaches us that the soul is composed of multiple layers or bodies of being, each vibrating at different frequencies, like the strings of a cosmic harp. The densest layer is the physical body, but beyond it lies the subtle body, the astral, and ultimately the causal or spiritual body. At death, the physical form ceases its functions, but these subtler bodies continue their voyage, weaving through dimensions beyond the veil. One of the most evocative metaphors comes from Hermetic teachings. The soul is like a flame trapped inside a lantern of flesh. When the lantern breaks, when death occurs, the flame is freed, rising upwards to realms of light or shadow, depending on its purity and strength. This ascent is not automatic. It is shaped by the soul's own resonance, its accumulated experiences, intentions, and level of awareness. To illustrate, think of consciousness as a radio tuner. Throughout life, we broadcast on a certain frequency, tuned to the vibrations of the physical world. At death, the tuner shifts, catching signals from subtler realms. Some souls are drawn to radiant dimensions of peace and wisdom, while others may linger in shadowed planes of confusion and unresolved fear. This idea is echoed in countless traditions, the concept of the astral plane, a vast intermediary world where souls encounter spiritual guides, face their past deeds, or undergo purification before moving onward. It is here that karmic debts are reckoned, and the soul's journey is recalibrated for the next phase. Yet, this process is not a linear one. it is filled with paradoxes. Some souls experience a blissful reunion with loved ones. Others feel trapped in loops of regret or attachment. Some encounter realms of dazzling light that seem to dissolve the ego entirely, while others confront terrifying voids that reflect their own inner darkness. What determines these outcomes? Many esoteric traditions agree it is the quality of consciousness itself, how deeply one has integrated love, wisdom, and awareness during their life. This is why spiritual practice is often described as preparing for death, not in a morbid sense, but as training the soul to recognize its true nature beyond the veil. Here, the mystery deepens. What if death is less a final destination and more a doorway to transformation? What if, like the mythical phoenix, the soul must burn away its illusions and rise anew, like a dark night of the soul? This transformation is not just for the departed, but for those still living, a call to awaken, to live consciously in the light of this hidden truth. But even with these insights, the full picture remains elusive. Questions arise. Does the soul retain individuality? How does memory survive beyond the physical brain? And what lies beyond the astral and causal planes? These are mysteries that invite us to explore further, to pierce the veil with courage and curiosity. In the next section, we will journey deeper into these enigmas, uncovering paradoxes, confronting myths, and revealing little-known teachings that illuminate the hidden architecture of life after death. Beyond the veil of death lies a tapestry woven with paradox and mystery, a place where time dissolves and the familiar rules of the physical world no longer apply. Ancient esoteric teachings speak of this realm not as a singular destination, but as a complex, multi-dimensional labyrinth where souls navigate through cycles of revelation and concealment. One of the most profound paradoxes is the coexistence of permanence and impermanence. While the soul is often described as eternal, unchanging essence, it simultaneously undergoes constant transformation, shifting through planes of existence like a chameleon shifting colors. This fluidity challenges our conventional understanding of identity. Are we truly the same self that departs the body, or something else entirely? Esoteric traditions like Theosophy and certain strands of Kabbalah describe this as the death of the ego, the shedding of the false self shaped by earthly desires and fears. What remains is the core consciousness, the divine spark that transcends individuality. Yet, this spark carries with it the echoes of all past lives, like ripples on an eternal ocean. Many myths warn of dangers and illusions in the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians spoke of the weighing of the heart, a trial where the soul's purity is tested against a feather of Ma'at, symbolizing truth and balance. Fail the test, and the soul faces dissolution and oblivion worse than physical death. This suggests the afterlife is not merely a passive experience, but a dynamic realm where moral and spiritual integrity are paramount. In Buddhist teachings, the concept of Bardo, an intermediate state between death and rebirth, reveals another layer of complexity. Here, the consciousness experiences visions and illusions shaped by its own karmic imprints. This state is neither heaven nor hell, but a mirror reflecting the soul's unresolved attachments. The way one navigates the Bardo influences the next incarnation or liberation from the cycle of rebirth altogether. But what about souls who seemingly choose not to move on? Across cultures, there are stories of spirits who linger, whether out of unfinished business, attachment, or confusion. This phenomenon, often dismissed as superstition, hints at the profound psychological and energetic ties between life and death. It also suggests that the journey after death is not automatic. It requires conscious participation. Modern esoteric scholars propose that the after-death journey is an inner voyage of awakening, a transcendence of fear through illumination. They speak of light bodies that are cultivated through spiritual practices, enabling the soul to navigate astral realms with clarity and purpose. Yet these teachings warn of the seductive dangers of the astral planes, realms filled with entities that may mislead or entrap unprepared souls. These are sometimes called thought forms or astral parasites, manifestations of collective fears and unresolved energies. Discernment, therefore, becomes a vital skill on the path beyond death. Hidden among these teachings is a radical truth. Death is not an end, but a doorway to expanding consciousness, an opportunity for the soul to evolve beyond the confines of physical existence. It is a process of liberation, but one that demands courage, wisdom, and inner work. We must also confront the modern materialistic worldview, which dismisses these esoteric insights as fantasy. This skepticism, while grounded in scientific rigor, may blind us to the deeper mysteries of existence. The soul's journey after death invites us to stretch our imagination, to reconcile reason with the mystical. As we continue, we will explore practical ways to engage with this hidden truth, rituals, meditations, and practices that prepare us not only for death, but for fuller life, here and now. If the journey after death is a profound transformation of consciousness, then the preparation for that journey begins here and now, within the sacred space of our living experience. The ancient mysteries teach that to navigate the beyond with clarity and grace, one must first cultivate awareness, courage, and inner harmony in this life. One essential practice is the cultivation of mindful presence. By learning to observe our thoughts, emotions, and fears without attachment, we begin to loosen the grip of the ego, the very self that must dissolve at death. Meditation techniques such as breath awareness, prayer, or the ancient practice of vipassana allow us to witness the impermanence of all things, including our own identity. This daily inner discipline lays the groundwork for a fearless transition beyond the physical. Another powerful tool is shadow work, the process of confronting and integrating the hidden, darker aspects of the psyche. Unresolved trauma, guilt, and fear create energetic blockages that may tether the soul to earthly planes after death. Through journaling, guided visualizations, or therapeutic modalities inspired by esoteric traditions, we can illuminate these shadows, transforming them into sources of strength and wisdom. This alchemical process frees the soul to move onward with less resistance. Rituals also hold great potency in preparing for death's mystery. From ancestral veneration to rites of passage, ritual acts serve as symbolic bridges between the seen and unseen worlds. Simple daily practices such as lighting a candle with intention, reciting mantras, or creating sacred altars connect us to the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. They anchor us in sacred time, reminding us of the soul's immortality amid the flux of existence. Breathing techniques such as pranayama further refine our energetic bodies, facilitating the cultivation of what esoteric teachings call the light body or subtle body. This luminous vehicle is said to carry consciousness beyond the physical, enabling the soul's journey through astral planes and realms beyond. Regular practice expands not only vitality, but also spiritual resilience. Importantly, embracing the wisdom of death reshapes our daily perspective. When we internalize that life is a fleeting passage and that our true essence transcends the body, priorities shift, material anxieties soften, compassion deepens, and a profound sense of purpose emerges, one aligned with spiritual growth rather than transient gain. Challenges will arise: fear of the unknown, cultural conditioning, or the discomfort of facing mortality head-on. But these obstacles are an integral part of the process. Courage is cultivated not by ignoring fear, but by walking through it, hand in hand with curiosity and reverence. For those seeking deeper engagement, practices such as lucid dreaming, guided astral travel, or shamanic journeying open portals to explore the afterlife realms firsthand. These journeys, undertaken with respect and protection, offer glimpses into the soul's path and provide personal insights that no book or teaching can fully convey. Ultimately, the hidden truth about what happens after death is not only a metaphysical mystery, but a living wisdom, one that transforms how we inhabit our present reality. By integrating these practices, we begin to embody a consciousness that transcends fear, embraces mystery, and walks boldly toward the eternal horizon. The hidden truth about what happens after death is not merely a secret to be uncovered. It is an invitation to awaken. It asks us to reconsider everything we believe about life, identity, and the nature of existence itself. Beyond the veil of flesh and bone lies a journey of transformation, a passage through realms unseen by ordinary eyes, and a reunion with the eternal essence that has always been within us. This ancient wisdom reminds us that death is not an end, but a profound beginning, a threshold where fear dissolves and true freedom emerges. To grasp this truth is to reclaim our birthright as immortal beings navigate an immortal experience. It calls us to live with greater presence, courage, and compassion, knowing that the soul's voyage continues beyond what the eye can see. As you reflect on these mysteries, ask yourself, how might your life change if you truly embrace the inevitability of death, not as a dark finale, but as the dawn of a new chapter? What shadows within you are waiting to be brought into light? And how can the knowledge of this eternal journey inspire you to live more fully, more deeply, here and now? The path ahead is both timeless and immediate. It beckons the seeker, the dreamer, the fearless traveler of the inner worlds. Will you step through the veil with open eyes and an open heart? If this exploration has stirred your spirit, join the conversation below. Share your insights, your questions, or your own experiences with the mystery of what lies beyond. And if you seek further illumination, on the hidden wisdom of the ages. Subscribe and journey with us as we continue to unveil the sacred truths that shape our destiny.